Hello, we are here to present our project, MindReader, a communication aid for people with motor disabilities. So, talking about the motivation of our project, which is the societal relevance, there are many people in this world who cannot talk or communicate the way I'm doing right now. One of the reasons for such impairment is could be a motor neuron disease, such as the ALS, etc. So, such people need adaptive alternative communication. So, here are a few numbers that I would like to state. So, there are 1.2 million Australians and about 7.5 million in the United States, 1% of people in Britain. So when we see all these numbers, we can say that typically between zero point 0.1 to 1.5% of the population are in need of such adaptive alternative communication. Coming to the abstract of the project, motor neuron diseases like the ALS or like the ALS, they are progressive, fatal, and it affects the motor neurons. That is, it affects the control of the muscles needed to move, speak, eat, and breathe. So there are different types of collection of EEG signals from the brain. They're called invasive methods and non-invasive methods. So invasive methods are basically placing the electrodes inside your brain, that is implanting those electrodes, and non-invasive methods are placing the electrodes on the surface of the brain. So one example of non-invasive method is the EEG electrode that we are using in our project. The invasive ones are ECOG and intracortical microelectrodes. They detect the electrical changes in the neurons that signal at the same time in the brain. So all these signals are then sent to an amplifier for amplification. So once the computer receives these signals, we get different maps of the brain activity with temporal resolution. When we process these EEG readings, we get various results. So one of the major applications of this could be checking the attentiveness of a person. Coming to the objectives of this project, one of the main objective is to develop a communication aid that is in the form of a brain computer interface to break the communication barrier for people with motor disabilities. The primary goal here is to restore the sense of speech in the affected people, but this can also be extended to other non-medical fields, which could be cognitive biometrics, synthetic telepathy, etc. So one other objective is to collect the accurate data for such a niche problem statement using the EEG headset. The development of the state-of-art AI model to process the data and extract the required features to solve the problem at hand. We compare and evaluate different methodologies for these BCI spellers, analyze these results, and we use the information to provide our novel model. The construction and identification of the right denoising and pre-processing techniques to represent the information and signals in an efficient manner for processing and extraction of features.
So here comes the proposed methodology. So this is basically the how this system will be working in the background and how we are going to achieve our target. So first, it is basically divided in six different steps. First one is data acquisition for training. So here what we do, we acquisite the data, or for this particular project, we have taken it from public available data set. So we are going to take the data and then we'll be sending it for the pre-processing. So in data pre-processing, what happens, we remove the noises and make it available for our need. This is what we call it building and fine-tuning classifier model. So we'll be choosing a good classifier model for our project, and we'll be also checking with different classifier models. So the classifier models that will be suiting with our dataset, we'll be picking it up. So we have already trained the model and we have made the good classifier according to our data set. Now comes the part of real-time data acquisition. The headset will be given to the patient. That person will be wearing the headset and data will be acquisited from his brain, and that will be given to the classifier model or the system. Now this system, what it does, it will take the data, in real time, and it will run in the model and gives the accuracy, and it tells if the person is blinking his or her eye or not. And according to that, the output will be shown on the user interface. So this is the overall proposed methodology for our system.
So now we come to the data acquisition part. what we do is we collect data using different kinds of headsets to capture a person's EEG signals. In our process or in our project, we have using two different types of headsets. One is the 14 electrode dataset, and the other one is the 1 electrode dataset. So these headsets, they give us EEG values from a person's brain, and these values or these EEG signals we can process it later to implement our idea. Now in data pre-processing step, what we do is the data that we get from these headsets, from the 14 electrode headset, what we do is we try to pre-process that first. That data is in terms of time domain, you can say. Now what FFT does is FFT is basically fast Fourier transform. So this FFT, it converts the data that is in time domain to a frequency domain data. This is just a sample of the 14 electrode dataset that we have used. If you see on the left hand side, this graph shows or plots the graph for the 14 electrode data that we have, and on the right hand side, this is the AF3 electrode that we have used, and we have plotted frequency graph for the same. So after the data is pre-processed, this data is classified into different EEG bands based on the frequency. So the different kind of frequencies that we have is delta, theta, alpha, and many such things. So basically, delta frequency or delta EEG band is the band that we get when a person is in a very deep sleep. Theta is something EEG band that we get when a person is in a light sleep or a meditation. Alpha is something. Alpha signal is something that we get when a person is not doing much physical activity, something like a sitting or standing position. As and when the person's physical activity increases, the EEG band also increases with respect to frequency. Now, once the data is pre-processed and once we have classified and everything is done in terms of pre-processing, what we do is we extract the features from the data. Now, feature extraction is something which is very similar, but people generally confuse it with feature selection. So the major difference between feature selection and feature extraction is, in feature selection, we select one among the few features that we have, or one among the few attributes that we have in the data. But in feature extraction, we use the attributes in the data that we have to get a more reasonable data, using which we can build a very good model. So in this feature extraction method, we have used multiple algorithms to extract features for the data that we have. These algorithms include Jorth method, SVD entropy, detrended fluctuation analysis, and much more. So we have extracted these features using the algorithms, and as you can see, we have plotted the data for the features extracted for first 5 attributes. These are the Jorth parameters or the SVD entropy that we get. And once these features are extracted, we can build a model.
Now we come to the classifiers and the algorithms that we've used in our project. After an analysis and evaluation of different types of algorithms, we come to the conclusion that 2 algorithms work best for the 2 different types of data set that we've considered. For the 1 electrode data set, we found that the AdaBoost classifier worked the best, and for the 14 electrode data set, we found that the SVM, that is a support vector machine, worked the best. AdaBoost classifier is basically a boosting methodology in which we take a bunch of weak classifiers and convert them into a strong classifier. And it is very similar to the random forest algorithm, but it has a few unique points and differences. We use the support vector machine for the 14 electrode data set, and you can see both of these plots. On the left side, you see that this is the plot for the true target values, that is the original data set target values. And the right side is the plot for the predicted target values after running the data through the algorithm, through our algorithm. So you can, when you compare both of these different plots, you see that there are many minute changes. In this particular region over here, you can see a few changes. This is the entire tabular column of all the algorithms that we have used. This is the tabular column for the 14 electrode data set. We have tried our
data with gradient boost classifier, XGBoost, different formats of SVMs, random forest, etc. And we see that support vector machine with RBF kernel works the best for our dataset, and it gives an accuracy of 89.93%. Now coming to the one electrode dataset, as I said, ADA-Boost classifier with the number of trees considered is as 250 gives the best accuracy, that is 72.72%. We've tried the same with different types of algorithms again, and we found that ADA-Boost classifier works the best. These are a few more readings. The list of hardware and software that we've used for our project is the EEG headset for real-time acquisition of data. And the software that we've used, the main coding is done with Python, and we've used Google Colab for computational resources. After we finish the algorithm and we have the model ready, we integrate that particular model with the GUI, that is the front end, so that the user can interact with the GUI and communicate what he or she is feeling. On the left-hand side, you can see an image of the headset. The particular first diagram shows the format of 6x5 GUI prototype that we have used. So there is a highlighting column in the first image that shows the particular column that is highlighted, and when the user blinks his or her eye, that particular column is selected. So if we want to select the first column, that is AFKPU, when the highlighted portion reaches that particular column, we blink the eye. After the first column is selected, if the user wants to select that particular one particular letter in that column, supposedly K, so you can see the diagram, the third diagram. So in that, when the highlighted portion reaches the K letter, the person blinks the eye. So this is how one particular letter is selected. So if the person wants to blink, spell out king, that is KING, first the user selects K, then I, using the same methodology, that is selecting the column first and then the particular letter thereby. So after doing this entire process, the person can spell out the different letters and thereby a word and eventually a sentence. So this is how the whole thing is integrated. In conclusion, this particular project that we've built acts as a communicative aid for everybody who have the problem of sharing what they're feeling or communicating in general, and this is mainly specifically for people with motor disabilities, and it helps them to communicate what they're feeling.
So, talking about the commercialization of our project and the target audience, I would like to state a few existing systems in the market. One among them is a Pocket Go Talk file-level communication device. For this, the target audience is kids, and the usage is very simple. Basically, you feed an image of something that you want to convey along with the message that you want to convey. This is how it works. There are two other adaptive alternative communication apps. Basically, they are Prolocue2Go and Avaz. So this works basically on symbol supported systems. So what happens is there is a vocabulary of symbols, and whenever you want to convey something, the words is you communicate in terms of those symbols. Talking about the limitations of these systems is the usage. One major thing that I want to focus on is the usage of fMRI in these systems. fMRI is basically very expensive when compared to EEG that is used in our project. fMRI can capture image only if a person stays still, whereas EEG system is very easy to set up. The complete knowledge in fMRI is still not present. Whereas in EEG that's not the case. The temporal resolution, that is, fMRI basically measures the change in blood flow inside the brain. So that to measure that, it takes several seconds, whereas EEG there is rapid temporal change. One main central theme that we have to pay attention to in this whole thing is there are about 78 lakhs to around 117 million people in this entire world who are in need of such adaptive alternative communication. So there is no fully commercialized, easy to use and set up and cost effective solution that exists for such people yet. So our project is going to be one of its kind.
These are the references, and thank you.